Hello, viewers. Thank you for joining me again on this day 7 of my 30-day challenge of YouTube Live, where I'm sharing my knowledge and tips for students' benefit who are preparing, preparing for their exam, right? And every day I'm covering various different topics, various different things that a student requires to know or be aware of to prepare for their exam. And today we're talking about one secret called secret to thinking better during exam. Now, most of our children's exam, right, whatever they do is based on memory. How much ever they remember, they write. Of course, many children complain that I studied, but I could not remember. Okay, there is one part called remembering, the other part called thinking. So certain marks is given for things that we have to remember and write, and certain marks for thinking about and writing. As of now, in Indian education system, that's the way it is going on happening. And that's called higher order thinking system, right? Hot questions are there. Higher order thinking, hot questions. So those things are, children are taught or made to do higher order thinking during the course of their learning, immediately after a chapter or something. Surely that is there. More so in mathematics. Despite learning or memorizing many things, children have to think. And in other subjects as well, children have to think for at least certain number of questions. They have to think an answer because the question is not direct, or question is not the one that they have encountered during their learning in the end of their chapters or anything. So questions are new. So they get confused about what to do. Right? How many of you viewers who are watching are facing this kind of a challenge from your children, that they can do whatever is there, the question, but something new comes, something different comes. The child is not able to think. So my channel's name itself is called Thinking Catalyst, because I make my students think rather than memorize. My tagline is, why remember formulae? Make your own. So I tell my students, or many of my students, they don't try to remember any formula. They make up their own formula. Even during exam, within 1 or 2 minutes, they make their own formula and use that formula in the exam, right? In that way, they don't have the anxiety that I will forget this formula. The more number of formulas that the children will get more anxiety that I have to remember so much, and they get anxious. Now, coming to the thinking part, all right, memorizing part is there. Okay, we are talking about memory techniques now. Now about the thinking part. Children need to think during the exam. Now, thinking cannot come immediately. For thinking, you need to have that muscle developed for thinking. Means you must know the concept very well and should have done some problems or questions or answered something on your own during the course of your learning. If you have not done that one, then thinking is suddenly in the exam is impossible. Thinking is a skill, right? My mentor, Bob Proctor, used to say that people would rather die than think. Right? It's a very, very profound statement. People would rather die than think. You say that means we'll ask ourselves, like, are we not thinking every day? No. My mentor Bob Proctor used to say that is not thinking, that is mental activity. Means what I have to do next. Like if they come and ask me what I should tell, then after this thing, what I should do? Should I take this decision or take that decision? Should I go ahead with this path or to go ahead with that path? All these kind of things is mental activity. That means Nothing new. Using the existing things, using what already know. With those things, you are just using your, actual your brain muscle, and you're coming up with conclusions or decisions to it. That is called mental activity. Thinking means completely new. You don't know, or you have not never never thought about those kind of things, right? You never thought about those kind of things, and you're thinking. And my mentor also used to say that if a person is really thinking, they'll be absolutely silent. Means they they cannot be thinking and talking. They cannot be thinking and doing something else. It's not possible. Real thinking means that person will be absolutely silent. They just can't. You must have seen. So uh, sometimes we get into thinking and we are like lost in that same thought, the same thought. That is thinking, and we rarely do that. And my mentor also used to say that thinking, people do thinking maybe 2-3 times in a year, right? You say that 2-3 times in a year, that too when they are fully pressed for some situation. Okay. He also recounted one incident saying that day he had to take bath to come for a conference or this one, and suddenly what happened, the pipe in the bathroom broke, and every one of them in the family, each one of them in the family had to take bath to get to go to school or job or things like that. And at that time they could not call a plumber, and he also didn't know any plumbing work. So they came up with very different kind of solutions, right? They took a mop stick and then stuck it and closed it so that other taps could be opened and used. Otherwise, because the tap is broken, he has to shut off the entire water supply. But if you shut off the entire water supply, how will everybody take bath and do the things? So they had to do various different things to close that tap, right? And later on, they were taking bath. So at such situations when there's you don't know what to do itself, you pressed for ideas, that is when you do the real thinking. Okay, and that kind of situations happen in life maybe one or two times or three times in a year for general people. Otherwise it's all known thing, it's all known activity. That is not at all thinking. That's what he was that's what he was saying, right? Okay. Okay. So now, what is the secret to thinking better? Means, first of all, the secret is you must have the thinking habit. Means, you should be doing some problems. The child should be doing some problems or questions on their own, and it should not be some direct question from the text. Such kind of things when they're doing, that's the first thing. Then the second very important secret to think better during the exam is called brain break and sleep. That means when children are studying for continuously for some certain number of hours, the best thing is to study for 30 minutes or 40 minutes maximum, and then take a break of 5 minutes. During that 5 minutes, the child should not be doing anything else. They can just look and stare outside in a window, or just stare blankly, or close their eyes and sit, or just mindlessly you should take a walk, just once inside the compound or inside the garden. One stroll they have to take and come back. Now, is this for relaxing your brain, relaxing the child's brain? No. Brain doesn't require relaxation at all. Our brain is such a muscle that it doesn't require relaxation. And during this break, brain is not relaxing. Coming to mathematics, okay? Coming to mathematics, mathematics is a skill, and any other skill. When you're learning, when we're learning a new skill, what happens is we take a lot of space in our brain to store the information, to store the steps. That means when we are learning to riding a two-wheeler, many things we have to focus, right? We have to see the left mirror, right mirror, and we have to see whether there's a hump ahead, or this one is ahead. Are we giving a lot of acceleration, less acceleration? When we should give brake? So many things we have to keep in mind and then do. So, and various different steps also we have to do during that travel, right? Many different steps are there to be followed. Like that only, let it be mathematics, right? There are various different steps to be followed to arrive at a solution for a problem, right? So when we're first learning the something newly, to register all the steps, the brain will take lot of space. Okay. Then once you've practiced a little more, and then you give a break, you give a brain break. During that time, the brain does not sit quietly. Our brain is tuned for efficient working. Means what? If you remember, if you really think about it, you will notice that our brain will remember important stuff, but unimportant stuff, like what I ate yesterday, that's not important. But what I learned years back, my brain will know. If I tell my brain that's important, my brain will remember that. What I ate yesterday? Not a very important. Ate, finished, done, gone, right? So my brain will not remember it. That means what? Whatever be the case, my brain is tuned for efficiency for everybody. That being said, now when we are learning a new thing, many different steps are there. Brain takes it takes a lot of space in the brain. Now, during the brain break, what the brain does, it starts to compress the thing. Just like we compress the file in a computer, it compresses everything and brings the shortest path to arrive at that solution, to do that particular activity. Like, for example, if I have to pick something, I can go like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, and get it. But, or I can know directly also, I can go the shortest path also. So once or twice when you've done it, your brain will recognize, oh, this is the shortest path, or what I can do for the shortest path. So it will be figuring out and compressing that entire thing into forming the shortest path. So when your children are studying, 30 minutes, 40 minutes studying is fine. But after that, the 4 minute or 5 minute break, that is the most essential thing, where the brain is actually processing it and fine tuning it and compressing it and making it easily available when you want to get to remember that one. So the brain breaks are very essential. And the second thing is, just like brain break, sleep is very, very important. Now we see many students studying just before the exam, okay, especially in higher grades, like higher standards in college and all. Maybe they've made it a habit to study before the exam without sleeping, and going and writing the exam and coming back and after the exam and sleeping. That is a way to not to remember what you've learned throughout your life. If the objective of a child learning is just to write the exam, I don't want to remember that at all in my life, then that methodology might work. But if you want your children to learn something and remember for their life, then that methodology of studying just before the exam without sleeping and going to exam and writing and coming will not help. Okay. And if those good habits of studying much ahead in time and sleeping well, if these habits are not inculcated when the children are young, then they get used to this lazy habit of studying during just before the exam. Okay, that will come as a habit and they will continue to do it. And when they're adults, we as parents don't have much say. We cannot really, really direct them. It's not possible. It's a little impossible to direct them. So what I'm trying to say here is children should get minimum 7 hours of sleep even before the exam. Why? Because again, during sleep, brain doesn't sleep, as you all know. Brain starts making all that pictures, all the studying, they've learned it visually, all that pictures, it synchronizes it arranges it stacks it properly, it stacks it. And therefore when you say I'm fresh now to write the exam, oh, it's not actually freshness. Lot of space is a lot of space in the brain is relieved because the brain has compressed and kept it all neatly stacked it inside the brain. It has done it neatly stacked it. So lot of your brain space is free. Just like your computer space is free after you delete lot of unwanted files. There's a lot of space is free. That's why we feel fresh. So even before the exam, whatever they have studied, how much ever they have studied, if children sleep less, they will perform less. And much more than that, when you sleep less, you cannot think. Because to think original ideas, some new type of question comes, children have to think original ideas, means new idea they have to think. That kind of question they have not at all encountered. They have not encountered in such kind of questions. So to remember such things, to think about such things, they need a lot of brain space. And for that brain space, they need to sleep. Minimum 7 hours before the exam, they have to sleep. And after sleeping, revising. Revising means revision. I learned from one of the great memory coach that revision means not studying again. Revision means revision. You are seeing in your mind's eye, you are seeing again. That means revision, when you're doing, you should not even open your book. Means all that you studied, you have to re-visualize that. That is called revision. If you're not able to do that revision, that means you've not studied properly at all. You have not used the memory techniques and you've not learned it and you've not memorized it. It is not there in your memory. So that is not reading again. Studying again is not revision. Studying again is studying again. It's not revision. So while we're studying itself, I've explained in the previous memory technique, previous live videos, some memory techniques I've taught. So those things can be used to actually learn it and memorize it while we are learning itself. And then when we do revision, we see those answers. We see those answers, those points, those words, those pictures, whatever it is. We see that. We see that. That is called revision, right? So the secret to thinking better in exam is just twofold. One is you have to have this thinking practice while you're learning. Thinking practice by solving or answering new type of questions on the child, by the child on their own. That thinking should be there. That's the secret, first secret. Then the second secret is brain breaks and sleep, which will free a lot of my brain space for thinking. If these two things are not done, children cannot start or answering new type of questions. Okay. Thank you for joining me, and and whoever is doing all the unwanted comments, I'm going to you know bear with you all, but not every time. Thank you for joining me live, and see you tomorrow again at 7:30 p.m. IST with yet another important topic with regards to